Okay, hello. I have 15 messages to deliver. Somebody in the comments sound off and count because I'm not going to be able to. But this can also be like 7 plus 8, so we might end up splitting this into 2 videos if I can't remember. And there might be a message that ends up being left off. It's not that it wasn't important, it's that maybe it can be renegotiated at a different timeline. Or on a different timeline, it can be renegotiated. Okay, so there's actually a few things. I'm gonna say the first message that is on my heart. Not every partner that you have needs to be shared online. Not every protected, cherished gift that you have received needs to be shared online, needs to be shared with the world. Because we don't know the digital realm enough to know what exists within it and what we can do with it and what we do with it without our own awareness. We're still learning what we just do in the physical, and all the spells that we're casting all the time in the physical realm. We don't know what we're casting in the digital realm, and we don't know what's being cast upon us. And of course, I don't ever want to freak anyone out. There's no reason to be freaked out, but you don't have to share everything online. So that's number 1. Number 2, the caterpillar. You always know what you're doing. You always know where you're going. You never have to hesitate. And even hesitation is part of the path. You know what I'm saying? And God is more nervous than you are half the time. When you're doing what you're actually supposed to be doing, which is just functioning and evolving and surviving. Survival is evolution. Survival is growth. When you're just making it through and doing what you can to survive and functioning and living in the world, you're evolving. That's what it is to live. That's what it is to be doing this thing down here on earth. And it might not feel particularly special to you, but it's during those seasons of life that God, Spirit, the Goddess, the Holy Spirit is nourishing you and worshiping you. And when I say worshiping you, I really do mean really paying attention to you. God, doesn't really focus on you too much when you're just doing nothing. And when I say just doing nothing, I kind of mean looking and learning and living with luxury, when you're just in your cradle and you're just safe because God knows you're safe. So God's not concerned. But once you start to leave the cradle, when you start to leave the nest, then God's like, wait, what the fuck? And wait, hold on. Because it even takes time for them to transition into a space of allowance, and there's the God within you. And so you freak out at your own life when you're watching yourself evolve and watching yourself change. And you're like, wait, am I supposed to be doing this? And what's happening right now? And blah, 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 blah. But you're just doing what you're supposed to do. My little earth, my little caterpillar, when she entered her wandering phase, she quite literally started wandering around. And I didn't even get the chance to watch her start to wander. And the cage that I built for her, I call it a cage because that's really what it was. The cage that I built for her to keep her safe while she was eating her food, and because I knew that she would eventually wander, because I had learned that that's what happens next. And I just found this caterpillar in my home. I didn't steal this caterpillar from outside and kidnap her. I just found her on one of my plants and I didn't know what to do. So I'm trying to help her grow into her next stage. But yeah, the cage that I built for her to keep her safe and to make sure that during her wandering phase, she wouldn't wander out somewhere I could never find her in my apartment and get crushed or something scary. That cage didn't work. She found her way out anyways. And my sister actually said, but I thought she'd be fine. But she found her way out anyways. And and I came home just in the nick of time, which is another message. Coming home just in the nick of time to meet your match, or to meet your moment, meet your next opportunity, meet your next destination. And it might have something to do with helping someone else. You show up just in the nick of time to be a support, to be a system for someone else, to give, to provide, that ends up being, you know, what helps you transition into the next moment. And on your end, it could seem to you that you've shown up late, and it was like perfect timing for you to have shown up. And like, if you hadn't showed up, what would have happened? In your mind, it's like a disaster, you know, it's disaster thinking. But in God's mind, it's perfect timing. And like, if you had showed up any earlier, it wouldn't have worked, you know, it wouldn't have worked well. You know, this thing wouldn't have been able to evolve in the way it needed to. There's this thing that happened to Earth when I was trying to get her to go back into her home, or actually into a new home, which she's in now, and she's in her chrysalis now, so we'll just have to wait and see. But there's this thing that happened. I was trying to get her to go on her leaf, and on this aloe leaf, and I guess she does not like aloe, because I like extended the leaf to get her, because I didn't want to pick her up with my hands. I was scared that I would hurt her, and I was kind of scared to hold her. I'm a little bit finicky with anything like that. And she went like this, and like she basically like stood up and like went like this. And in my mind, I had never imagined her being so flexible and having such quick movements, that she fucking fell off the chair and fell all the way to the ground. It was a long drop. She fell all the way onto the ground. And that was terrifying, because it was terrifying because she fell. And it was terrifying because I was like, holy fuck, like you're really a creature, you know what I mean? That's moving around and functioning and like reacting to life. It reminded me that she's really alive. You know, she's not just like this little baby that I'm taking care of. She's alive. She's a whole, I was gonna say a whole human being. She's her own person who's like probably watching me and being like, girl, like, thanks for giving me a home, I guess, but also get the fuck, you know what I mean? And who are you? And I'm trying to do my thing. And it was so crazy when she did that. It scared me so much, but it was also really good because it reminded me that, like, I don't know, sometimes scary things happen. Like, that's a tower moment, you know? She's never fallen before. At least as far as I know. She's never fallen before. That was a long drop. And she was like on her side. She had to roll herself up. And I was so scared. I was freaking out. I didn't even go in to help her. But she rolled herself onto her feet. And I don't know if she hurt her feet. She probably hurt herself in the process. But she rolled herself, and then she got moving again. And she climbed all the way up on the wall, and I was scared because I was like, oh my God, she's climbing on the wall. I am gonna have to get her, because I did not want her to crawl to the top of the wall and become a chrysalis on the top of my wall, because then she'd become a butterfly, and then she'd be flying around my apartment forever until she died, and I would never be able to capture her. That was my thinking. So I was like, this is a horrible thing that's happening. I need to get her down. But then she started crawling. Actually, she crawled up the wall, and then she started crawling towards my plant. And I was like, oh, she started crawling towards my cactus. And I was like, oh. And I was like, yeah, you're drawn to the earth, duh. And I was so grateful because she climbed to the cactus. I grabbed this little driftwood, the piece that I had gotten. I don't remember where I found this wood. It might have been in Killarney, because it looks like a hand. I thought it was really cool. Maybe it wasn't in Killarney. I don't remember where it was. But I grabbed it, and she got on there, and then I put her inside of her new home, where she's currently a chrysalis. But that worked out so well. And I was so grateful that that worked out, because otherwise, I don't know, you know, what I would have been, I don't know what I would have done, but it was very scary. It was very overwhelming going through that. And it was a good lesson on, like, life, I guess. And that oftentimes when we're trying to control a situation in somebody else's life, even within our own lives, when we're panicking and we're not just letting things unfold, we are making it worse. But sometimes we also bring out the tower moments that we need. You know, sometimes you need to crash and burn. Sometimes you need to fall. Sometimes you need it. Because, like, imagine the first time she fell, it was outside and, like, a bird came and ate her because she didn't get up fast enough. But now she knows how to fall, you know? So even though it was scary and I hate that she fell, it works. It still ends up kind of working out. But yeah. I don't know, you guys. That was not 15 messages, but that might be it, because I don't know what else to say. And I'm feeling super tired and exhausted, because I had caravana today. And more than that, I think I'm just feeling tired because there's my period. Well, that can be another message. I am happy. We are happy. I met this woman today at the Winners, and I had woken up and I had checked because I thought maybe I had started my period. And it was crazy because last night, I was wondering what my period was. And there's so many things circulating around my period because it's also, I need to call. It's the first day of my period. And on the first day of my period, I'm supposed to be calling this fertility clinic to let them know so that they can book me in for my fertility testing so I can see what my ovaries are looking like and just make sure I'm on track, you know, just to protect myself and all these things. And so that's what I've been trying to do the past month. July has been a month where I focus a lot on my fertility. And so yeah, I found out my period was today, which was not the best news on the planet because it's also caravana, my very first caravana, where I'm playing Mass, which went well. I enjoyed playing Mass. I had fun. I think I would have had more fun with I think I would have had fun with my sisters there, but I think I would have had a lot of fun with a best friend there who likes to shake their ass. Truthfully. I think that would have been super fun. I don't really have any friendships like that. I used to, but not anymore. But if I had friendships like that, I think caravana would be the most fun with that kind of friendship. I also learned that I might talk too much. I talk a lot. I have also learned that. I'm an introvert, but not when I want to be social. When I want to be social, then I'm not an introvert. When I want a friend, I'm not an introvert. And I'm realizing that I want a friend, you know, someone I can really talk to. And I don't feel like I really, really have that. Not because I don't have fantastic people in my life, but you know when you just realize you're missing something deeper and you need to start putting effort towards finding that in your life? I think that's what I'm realizing. You know, that as much as I have a wonderful life and have wonderful friends and I'm very blessed and lucky, I also, you know, I am missing something in my current friendships, and I would like to put energy towards trying to find my best friend, you know, who I can, she doesn't need to be everything, but, you know, someone I can shake my ass with at caravana, someone I can tell all my crazy thoughts to, and someone who I can talk to about spirituality, someone who really gets it and really gets me, and someone who I really truly bond with and connect with on a soul level. You know, I'm looking for my girl, my home girl. I have not found her yet, but she could possibly be someone I already know. Who knows? You know, who knows? moving on. It's interesting. Sometimes bad things happen, or people do bad things, but they didn't mean to. Like, I have this example. There's like this girl, this woman online who is a creator. She's a tarot reader, and she's a spiritual woman. And I put way too much. Yeah, she's a tarot reader, she's a spiritual woman. She's awesome. And somebody used her through AI to make spiritual readings. And I think part of the reason they chose her is because of her appearance, and they know that she will get more likes and more views. And part of me wondered if there is like some validity to, even though what they did was wrong, part of me wonders if there's some validity to, you know, the heart and soul of it. Because like, I kind of get why they did it, why they chose her. I still had to report them, but I understand why they did it. I can't say I don't understand why they did it. And you know, not every message will be perfect, but you still have to deliver it. Because I'm listening to this message right now and I'm like, I'm not feeling super confident in it. But still, it must be delivered. Because this woman was talking online about how much work you have to put in, you know, just to be able to do something easily. And it's true. You know, it takes a lot of hours to get to the point of ease. And it kind of makes me think of that thing about like how, you know, a lot of the messages that older generations are now trying to deliver to young Gen Zers is that, no, you don't have to earn peace. You don't have to earn your right to be at peace. But you know, you put in hours for a reason. There's a value that comes with, like the time that something takes to develop. There's a gift. If you allow yourself to spend that time developing whatever it is, you might end up finding like a really valuable gain in terms of understanding and mastery of like how to do something and how to commit to something, you know. So sometimes I think about the fact, well, actually, this is kind of my first time thinking about this. I've kind of looked down on some choices that I made as a teenager because I'm like, knowing myself now, I'm like, ugh, I would have done this or I would have done this, you know. And so sometimes I realize that I've been kind of hard on my teenage self in terms of the decisions I was making. And I, like, sometimes I actually am kind of quite belittling to my teenage self because I'm like, oh, she didn't know better, but like, had she known better, she would have done this instead. But really, my teenage self has been able to do something that I am just now getting back to a place. Oh, and this message about 2016 is coming together. I am just now getting back to a place that she was at and maintained for a very long time, which was this ability to commit to one path. As a teenager, I was like a writer, and that was my path. I was a writer, and I was going to be a writer, and I was writing. And when I made my choice for university, I chose English because I was like, I'm going to be a writer and not like a literary, not like a well, I thought maybe I could work in publishing at like a magazine house. And so I used that as inspiration and things like that in terms of like, okay, well, how would I develop like a real job and blah, 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 blah. But like, yeah, I was a writer in my mind, and that was what I was going to be. That was going to be my career. And I did summer programs. I got accepted into a very, like, I don't know if you would call it prestigious. I don't know. But I got accepted into the Iowa Young Writers Studio. I went to Iowa for 2 weeks during the summer when I was 16. Before that, I participated in the 90-second Y summer writing camp. I helped develop my school's first ever zine, my high school's first zine. It was not a part of our literary magazine or journal. I don't know why I didn't do it. I think maybe because somebody else was already doing something kind of similar. So it was one of my friends, maybe that's why. I don't really know why I never did it. But yeah, I had committed to writing, and it was my whole thing. Now, the reason I think I probably find it to have been a mistake to be so focused on writing is because I would come to find that I'm interested in many things, and I feel that there was so much more to be discovered about myself. But also, I think one of the things that I must have had a internal knowledge about that didn't come from experience, but just from inner knowing that wasn't conscious, it was subconscious, was that, you know, I do really, really well when I'm able to focus on something directly. And if I'm actually able to commit to it and really put my energy and my time towards it, I can really do well at it. I can excel. But I'm kind of like a one thing at a time girl, and I maybe don't want to admit that to myself. But yeah, I'm kind of a one thing at a time. You know, I gotta take it one step at a time. I gotta be focused on one thing. I can focus on multiple things, and I often do, but I'm best when I'm able to focus on just a few things, and really, if I'm able to just put my all into one project, even though I am inspired by many things and get inspirations for many projects, if I was able to focus on one event in my life at a time, or one development, one structure, one project, one program at a time, you know, I can do really well with that. And my teenage self might have subconsciously known that, even though I didn't, know that illness until much later into adulthood, when I, began to see that I got distracted easily, and this and that. But it's like my teenage self was able to really commit to writing. I also experienced my first major rejection in high school, and it had nothing to do with love. It was actually career related. I didn't get into U of T, and that rejection really hurt. Really hurt, because I thought that I should have. And I felt that the only reason I didn't get into U of T was because of the system. Because I felt that I was good enough. I felt that I was more than good enough. I felt that I was qualified. And I felt I wasn't accepted to U of T because of SATs. And my SAT score wasn't good enough. But I felt that was, it was facts that it wasn't good enough. I was not good at standardized testing. And I also didn't study for it at all. But that's because I have no respect for standardized testing. I literally don't respect the process. I think it's completely idiotic. And I don't know if that's ever going to change. I won't send my kids to a school that's standardized testing focused. I literally think it's one of the dumbest things on the planet. And maybe it's really great for some kids, but I think it's one of the most, one of the stupidest things on the planet, in terms of trying to measure knowledge and understanding. That's just me though. But yeah, I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say right now. But I think it's just overall that I knew myself in ways I didn't know myself again until just recently, and I'm sure that my teenage self could tell me quite a bit about myself, could probably read me for filth, in ways that, might shock me right now, because there are probably things that I have forgotten about. I feel like I'm at a point where I actually remember my child self a lot better than I remember who I was as a teenager. I kind of feel like right now my memory of my teenage self is very I feel like I have a surface level relationship with her. And I feel like part of that comes from the fact that I'm closer to her in age. So I also think that I don't belittle her, but I look at her as girl, you have so much to learn. And then, I look at my childhood self as oh, this poor baby, which is not fair. And just also ridiculous. But yeah. And then I think I look at my self now and I'm I can see that in my recent past, all of the things I've had to learn, and I'm I know so many of those things. They didn't start with my teenage self, but I can pinpoint so many disasters from being a teenager that I wish I could have handled differently. And I look at all of it and it feels so close. And yeah, I feel so far from it that I'm able to have a more critical eye, which can also make me be a bit ignorant to the reality of the situations that I was dealing with and how complex they were. And sometimes I think I don't give my teenage self a lot of credit. And I'm just thinking about this now. Yeah. But, yeah. I don't know, you guys. There's always something going on, isn't there? Anyways. Yeah. All of this just makes me think about the fact that, like, I'd like to give myself some more grace. And also I'd like to just acknowledge how great of a job I've done in the past and not be so harsh in my view of self. I think that's the conclusion I'm at so far.